Today we're going to be talking about Pressols. If you don't know what a Pressol is, it's a brand name of German bottles, and these are the Pressol bottles specifically that most of us talk about in the United States because they are the really one of two that you can get here, at least that I'm aware of. So this is what they call a Pressol Household Series bottle. It's a clear bottle. They're also available in blue. They have an industrial bottle that has a slight bend to it. It's kind of like a black body. I used to have one of them around here. I don't quite know where it is at this point. You can see that there is a blue colorway available as well. So Pressol bottles have been available for a couple of years in the United States. Obsessed Garage brought them in from Pressol in Germany and released them as kind of a beta test. They were pretty clear about it from the beginning that like these are a test. They aren't perfect. They might fail. Don't buy them if you're going to be upset about having to throw one away or replace one or whatever. But, you know, Matt brought a bunch of them in and wanted to show that there was enough interest in a high quality bottle that Pressol might be willing to invest in making something that was a little bit better and continuously improving it. And over the years, they made a couple minor changes. OG came out with their own labels. So here is one of their original labels you can see on this clay lube bottle right here. And they're a foil-backed label that went on fairly well and worked decently. Now, they ran into a bunch of problems over the years. I've done a couple videos about this in the past. I don't necessarily want to rehash all of that, but they had some issues with bottles failing. So basically all of these bottles that you can see across the bottom here where I have the IK sprayers, those were the problematic ones, and tar remover, which is all the way over here on the left. Things like Geon Prep, which is like a panel wipe or panel prep product, that used to kill the sprayers. Any sort of degreasers or APCs would kill the sprayers. Wheel cleaners would kill the sprayers. Koshchemi Ulex, this is Shine Supply Wise Guy, this is a bug remover. All of them kind of killed the sprayers on a pretty regular basis. We found that we were constantly like replacing parts on the sprayers, and usually the sprayers would fail in one of three ways. Way one, the tip of the sprayer, if we look right here, this gray piece right here, what would happen is pressure would build up in here and it would crack and you would end up with a split in the tip. So it would still spray, but it wouldn't spray and atomize. It would just like squirt out or kind of dribble out of the unit. I've also had a couple where the plungers failed, where like this piece came out forward. That is really rare. I think I've only had that happen to me once or twice, but the tips I've probably gone through, I don't know, 20 tips in a couple of years. Now those 20 tips have all been on the same 6 or 7 bottles. Like, to be very clear, I got a bottle, filled it up with P&S interior cleaner, and like this, it's my original sprayer on the original bottle. It just works, right? So there are problematic chemicals that are killing the sprayers and some that are not. The third way that it would fail is it would just kind of stop squirting altogether, but it wouldn't like really fall apart and there wouldn't be a break here. And that was, you know, the assumption that I always made was that the seals had failed. Like I mentioned, over the years, they made a couple of changes. This is the most recent version. This is what they are calling the Pressol Pro series. And in the Pressol Pro series, there are a few major changes. So number one, the tip is now stainless steel, as you can see. Now they did have a run where, well, they had a small percentage of them that came through and they weren't stainless, they were regular steel. So if you get one and your tip starts to rust, it's not stainless. You can test it with a magnet as well. They'll replace it for you. They did send an email out, but mine were stainless. I only ordered 2, so I have 20 bottles behind me. I ordered 2 of the Pro Series to test them out and see if I wanted to reinvest in Pressol, because I've already spent a bunch of money and I was trying to decide, is this a sunk cost fallacy where I feel like I want to buy the new Pressols because I already spent all this money on the old Pressols? Or is it a matter of like, okay, these are really good now and maybe it's time to reinvest, because I do like the Pressols when they work. I just had some issues with them that maybe made them not ideal at all times. So stainless steel tip is number one. Number two, they switched the seals to Viton seals. Now it's more of an internal change. I am not exactly sure what seals they put in or which ones they are, but I do know that my Marilex bottles use Viton seals and I haven't had a failure on a Marilex bottle, so I would assume that they're probably going to perform differently, but again, that is just simply an assumption. They changed this to a flexible, like a silicone style tube. Originally they had a tube like this, which is more rigid. It does have a weighted end on it, so if you were holding the product on its side, it would tend to pick up from the bottom, but it wasn't really perfect. The new ones have a tube that's more like the IK, where it's like super flexible. You could see that this pickup looked slightly different than the one that I just pulled out. There is a clip on here now to hold this on, and there's a clip at the top to hold this on, because some really slick products, the hose would come off inside the bottle and you would end up with just a sprayer with no hose. So those are the changes to the bottle itself. And then they also changed the process with which they seal the bottle, and these bottles are now what they would call fluorinated, which should mean that products like tar remover no longer are able to leach through the bottle and make it so that the labels fall off. And that's one of the problems that we ran into quite a bit. So if you look at this bottle, this had Tar-X in it, and you see how there's like all of these bubbles and stuff. So it might be a little hard to see on camera. See, it looks like kind of like it's got warts or bumps. So what would actually happen is the tar remover would leach through the bottle, and it would make the adhesive start to fail on the stickers. And the OG stickers, because they were foil backed, would start to curl up on the edges. I actually started making my own stickers with my Cricut, and these are like a regular vinyl. It's like an Avery vinyl or a 3M vinyl that I put on here that I cut my own stickers. My stickers tended to hold up a little bit better than the OG ones. And then I found with my stickers that I was able to have some customization. So that's how now my whole set doesn't really match. I've got some OG, I've got some that I've made, I've got some that are the new OG. With redoing the bottles, they also redid their stickers, and now their stickers are black. They look like this. And they have more in their sticker pack than ever before. They also have some of these blanks. So you can see there's like a blank purple, there's a blank blue, there's a blank silver, and a blank gray. There's the gray, and the silver one just has silver for the hexes. There are a lot more stickers in here than ever before, which is really nice. One of the things that was a problem with the original stickers, and I'm using the word problem, that's probably not the right word, but one of the things that annoyed me about the original stickers is Matt has a very defined process, and he has specific chemicals that he doesn't use, right? He doesn't use a bug remover, he doesn't believe in them. He doesn't really use a degreaser, he uses an APC. So because of that, the original sticker line only had like 12 or 14 stickers or something like that, and I had a bunch of products that they didn't have stickers for. So then you end up with like a bunch of bottles that have no sticker or the wrong sticker or look different than everything else, and it makes it difficult for them to be consistent. So when I started making my own stickers, I tried out on the tar remover and some of the other products, and those seemed to hold up well, and then I just kind of went with it. As you can see, most of mine match now at this point, and they have my own stickers on them. I bought 2 Pressols, the new Pressols. I bought all of these old Pressols. They sent me a sticker pack to test out to see how they were, because they knew that I was making my own stickers. And I will say that I've installed and applied one to a new Pressol. This is on tar remover, which was the most problematic product for both stickers and bottles in my experience. And it's held up really, really well. Now that being said, I've only had this in my hand for 2 weeks, week and a half, something thereabouts, but just pick it up, it works. That was always one of those things where every time I picked up tar remover, I didn't know if it was going to work or not work. That's got Carpro Tar-X in it, which is the tar remover that OG uses. Looking through the rest of their stickers and looking at my bottles, they have drying aid, they have tire dressing, they have plastics dressing, waterless wash I wouldn't put in a spray bottle, rinseless wash I wouldn't put in a spray bottle, wheel cleaner I no longer use in a spray bottle either. They have a paint sealant, that's a new ad. They have heavy duty glass cleaner and regular glass cleaner, interior cleaner, clay lube, which I've already shown, surface prep. They have a rust inhibitor, APC, tire cleaner, regular glass cleaner, heavy duty surface prep, iron remover, and engine cleaner. So they have a lot more stickers than ever before, and they also give you these blanks that you can kind of do your own. I think that is forward momentum in the sticker project, right? They've added more products, maybe even been open to have some stickers for some products that they don't necessarily believe in or carry products that fit that bill. I do think that there's still a gap in the stickers that they're missing. Like, for example, bug remover. You know, Matt doesn't believe in bug remover, but a lot of people use them. And, you know, part of their brand promise is that he sells what he sells. And, you know, if you don't like it, tough. But also, you know, for somebody like me who wants to have a shelf where there's a whole bunch of things that match, being able to have a sticker for every one of them, I think, is really important. Now, the custom stickers are pretty cool. You get one like this, and you can, you know, you could write in with like a silver Sharpie if you wanted to, a paint marker, something like that. You could also, like if you had a Cricut, you could print out vinyl letters and you could put them in there. That would be pretty easy to do, and that's probably how I'll do it, is try to find a font that's pretty similar to the OG font and then just print my own. But looking at what I have, you know, they have a label for this. This would become surface prep. They have a clay lube. They don't have a scent, which is strange because that's Fresh Up, which they do carry. So I don't remember seeing a scent sticker. That's strange to me. They don't have a carpet cleaner. They do have, this would be heavy duty surface cleaner. They do have an iron remover. They do have a plastic dressing, drying aid. This is an interior cleaner that I use, like a heavy duty interior cleaner, and then I have a regular interior cleaner. They only have one. Tire dressing they have, the surface prep they have, APC they have. I guess degreaser I would call engine cleaner. Tire cleaner they have. Ulex is, again, an OG product, or something that they sell, but they don't really have a great sticker for it, like maybe adhesive remover or something along those lines. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do here, and I already did it with one of them. So this is a new bottle, new sprayer, all brand new, and I put tar remover in it. I'm going to do another one, and that one I'm going to do with probably degreaser or the tire cleaner, one of the two, because those are kind of the other side, right? So the two products that ruin it most I see are tar remover and the wheel cleaner. Now, I don't really use a wheel cleaner in these anymore. I just foam it on with a foamer. So I don't really see the need to have wheel cleaner in a spray bottle. If I was going to put wheel cleaner in anything, I would put it in my Marilex sprayer, because you use a fair amount of it and there's just no reason to sit there like squeezing the trigger again and again and again. So what I'm planning on doing with this other Pressol bottle here is doing either the tire cleaner or the degreaser, because those are both kind of on the other side of being a bottle ruiner, if that makes sense. The Tar X was always a problem because of the sticker, and then the wheel cleaner, tire cleaner, and those were always problems because of the sprayer. So I'm planning on testing those out for a little while, seeing how they do, and then what will likely happen if I have a good experience with that is I will replace the bottles, or at least the sprayers, for these. Now, I've never had problems with these bottles taking and holding stickers, the old ones, except for the tar remover. The tar remover is the one that like constantly had problems. So like my degreaser, my tire cleaner, my wheel cleaner, all of those have been problem free. Now, I am seeing some reports on the OG Facebook group where there are some people that are having browning on the new bottles. One of the products that was specifically called out was Armor Detail Supply Wheel Cleaner and Armor Detail Supply Tire Cleaner. And I use both of those. So that makes me think that maybe there's something with the fluorination that's reacting with some sort of product that's inside the ADS that's allowing it to come through on the bottles where it previously didn't. So that might be something that, you know, maybe I end up having to have a mix of the bottles. One good thing is that the new bottles and the old bottles, they look the same, right? They're the same shape, they're the same color, they're the same size, they're the same thread. They're pretty much the same. The difference is that, you know, those are fluorinated. Now, I was worried, and this is why I only ordered two of them, I was worried that they might be a slightly different color. Sometimes when you fluorinate a bottle, you end up with like a slight yellowing. And I thought, well, if I have like half a dozen bottles that are a slight shade of yellow and the rest of my bottles are clear or white, it wouldn't look good on the shelf. And at that point I was probably done, because I didn't want to buy 20 more bottles at 20 bucks a piece. You know, it's $400 on bottles. As it stands, the ones that are behind me, I got some of them for less or more than, you know, what the retail was. I think they were like 14 bucks originally. and you know, I was inside the hex, so you get 10% off, you get 15% off for certain sales and different things like that. I might have picked a couple up on secondhand detailing or other places. You know, so over time, it's like I have 20 of them, but I didn't go out and buy 20 of them and spend $300 all at once on bottles. I picked one up here, I picked one up there, and I eventually grew to the point that I've got a whole pile of bottles here. Now, I am probably going to pare down the number of things that I have. I don't really think that I need a dedicated carpet cleaner in a bottle anymore. Nonsense really does a great job of doing that. So I think I can combine those two products into one. I never use G-Technic panel wipe. I always use, you know, like a regular surface prep spray. I happen to have two, an eraser and a prep, and that's because eraser we can't buy in California anymore, and I was that's because eraser you can't buy in California anymore because of VOC rules. So I was testing out Geon Prep to see how that worked, and now I've used a dozen other prep products that I actually like better than either one of them, like ADS's panel prep, Clean Tool's panel prep is really good, a couple others. So, you know, I'm going to pare those down to one. So I'm probably going to go from 20 bottles to something like 16 is my guess. But I am going to try to redo them with the OG labels. I am going to try to use the new OG sprayers. As my tips fail, or as time goes on, I will likely try to swap them all out to the stainless steel tips just so that they all match. But they should sell those separately at some point. They don't yet. Right now it's just bottle only, and the bottles are like 20 bucks. So I'm waiting for the tips to be available separately so that I could just buy like, you know, 10 tips and swap out the rest of my bottles, because the sprayers aren't bad. You know, maybe I'll have like one or two extra sprayers that I have sitting in the drawer just in case one fails. But the sprayers, the old sprayers, weren't necessarily bad. It was the tips that always seemed to fail. And then, you know, like I said, a handful of products would kind of nuke the sprayer. I think it's really important that if you're going to invest in these, that you go in both with an open mind, but also understanding that they can't test every single product that they're using. So, you know, there's a possibility that you're going to buy these and they're not going to work for you. There's a possibility that you're going to buy them and they're going to fail. If you buy these bottles and 20 or 25% of them fail, and that's going to really frustrate you, then they might not be the product for you. I would maybe do something like what I'm doing, buy one or two of them, try out a couple key products that you use again and again that you know are especially caustic, and see how they hold up, and then invest in more and more over time. I probably wouldn't jump right in because they're brand new and because there are going to be things that come up. You know, OG has a very specific line of products that they carry, and that's what these are going to be tested mostly with for the OG followers, using, you know, wheel cleaner, using Brake Buster as their wheel cleaner. Well, if ADS wheel cleaner is nuking the bottles and they've never tested it with ADS wheel cleaner, they've only tested it with Brake Buster, which is what OG uses as a wheel cleaner, there is a level of like, they can't test everything. So we just need to be realistic and need to have some sort of responsibility for that. But I'm looking to clean all of this up. I'm looking to, we'll say, refresh, not double down, not reinvest, but refresh my line over time and get to a point where I've got something like 16 bottles instead of 20 that are using some of my favorite products, have sprayers that match and that look the same. Maybe the pickup tubes are slightly different. Like, you know, some of these are actually household sprayers. You pick up this like carpet cleaner, for example. See, it's got a plastic pickup tube in it. It doesn't even have the weighted one. Like, this isn't even an industrial sprayer. It's just a household sprayer. And it's worked fine since I got it, you know? So for me, 15 out of 20, 14 out of 20 have been entirely problem-free. And then I have 5 or 6 that have been kind of continuous problems, and I'm hoping that that gets solved. For those of you that have asked if I'm getting them, for those of you that have commented down below and asked about the labels and other things, you will see me testing them out here and there. I will do a follow-up video at some point. You can feel free to ask me in the comments in future videos if you're looking for just an update. I'm not going to update you in every single video. If something blows up, I'll tell you about it. Like if I start having failures or something. But like I mentioned, you know, there's going to be 2 that I really test hard, and then over time I might get more and get to the point where I've got my whole line in Pressols again, and that everything matches. I will say that I love the Pressols, but I don't use them very often. Part of that is a byproduct of what I do because I'm testing products all the time. Putting new products in these Pressols every single time I'm testing something new is not a realistic thing for me to do. So oftentimes I'm testing something like, Yum wheel cleaner that I did yesterday, and I'm doing it in the Yum bottle with the Yum sprayer. And part of that is like, I want to test the packaging and the sprayer and all the stuff that they give you and see how it works. But also part of that is like, I'm not going to dump out a bottle of wheel cleaner to put a different wheel cleaner in there. And I'm not waiting till I go through the entire bottle of something before I test the next new product. If I close my eyes and picture the future, I do imagine a world where I've got 18 products on the shelf that are products that I really love, that are what I feel are the best of the best, in matching bottles with proper labels that I'm using on a weekly basis to clean my clean cars. And, maybe I'm not testing entire lines every single week. And I, go down to testing 1 or 2 products here and there occasionally to see if they unseat my favorite products. As it stands right now, there's just so much product available, and I have so much stuff here that I'm going to continue burning through them, probably through the rest of 2025. And then maybe in 2026, just kind of calm down a little bit, and test 1 or 2 products here or there and see how those work. I think in order to do that, I have to have alternative content for the channel. So I'd have to have an interesting car or some sort of project work going on for that. But we'll see where time goes. So if you'd like to know how to put a label on one of these, I would start off with something like, I'm using traceless to do it. Surface prep would work well. Spraying that on a rag. You'll see that there are clear panels. There's 2. So it's like ribs in the middle, then there's a clear panel on one side, clear panel on the other. The one side says Pressol. See the Pressol logo? It's right here. The other side doesn't. So I always apply the label to the other side. Wipe it off with your towel. Just like that. Then what I do is I take the label, we use engine cleaner for example, and I peel back the backing on one corner so that it goes over like that. So I've got it like a little tail right here, okay? See that? And then I come down here and I match up the bottom center with the little nub in the bottom of the bottle. So if we look here, see there's a little nub, middle of the 500 ml mark. This looks straight all the way across. There is a slight curvature to the bottom of the sticker, just note that. And then I work from there out. So just like that. And then you'll end up with a bottle that looks like that, where the sticker's actually straight and fits well. If you try to follow these lines, you're not going to be able to. So that was one of the things that I struggled with early on. You see that there's like a little gap here between like the rib and where your sticker is. The problem is that the angle of the sticker doesn't exactly match the angle of the lines on here. So you have a slightly larger gap here than you do there. And if you follow that and make it straight, then your label's crooked. And you end up with a label that looks like... you end up with a label that looks like this, like the APC right there. So here we have our engine cleaner. We're going to fill this up with degreaser, and we'll see how it works. If you don't have one of these funnels, this is a funnel from Atoms. Works really well. It kind of screws on here. It's not the perfect thread, but it definitely doesn't leak once you do it. So we'll use this for our degreaser. And this is an IK sprayer, but these are like flexible tubes, but they turn hard with certain chemicals in them, so they don't work perfectly either. Although I haven't really had a sprayer fail yet. So I use this funnel to put that in there, This is a heavy duty degreaser. Normally I use Zepp degreaser. What happens to be in here right now is Monkey Head, because I tested that whole line and I liked their heavy duty cleaner. So do that. And then you want to get it so that it's like slightly off, but this is tight. And then when you tighten it down, you'll end up with a straight sprayer or whatever angle you want, right? I like them to be pointed straight back. And then there we are. Tighten this down a little bit. Get our atomization. The Pressols do work well when they work, right? So I'm hopeful that they hold up and that they do well. So that's all I have for today. I appreciate you coming by. I appreciate you watching. If you want to try these out, like I said, my recommendation is maybe don't go all in. Buy a couple, test a couple products that you know might be problematic, and develop an opinion for yourself. And then as time goes on, maybe invest in more. I do like the sticker packs. If you're open to using a translation for some of the products that you might use that they don't, or you're open to maybe making some of your own on the custom stickers, I think this will be really easy to do on something like my Cricut vinyl cutter. Just cut some white logos and put them on there and make my own. The blanks are available. They're right on their website. I think they're all $1.75. There will be a link down below to the bottles. If you follow that, it gives me a small kickback, and it's one of the ways they help to support my channel. I really appreciate that. There are no discounts or anything like that available on the Pressols right now, unless you're part of Inside the Hex. If you're Inside the Hex, then you get 10% off and free shipping on orders over $50. So that would equate to buying 3 bottles, and you would, get 10 off and free shipping. They do tend to go on sale right around Black Friday, so they'll do 10 off for non-Inside the Hex members, and they'll bump the Inside the Hex to 15. So you can hang out and wait for that as well. I really appreciate the amount of effort that they're putting into these and that they're trying to make them perfect. I don't think that they're ever going to be perfect, like define perfect, right? But maybe in time they end up with like a high alkaline sprayer, a high acid sprayer, and 2 different bottles that are both clear, but like one is for high pH products and one is for low pH products, and maybe having a little bit wider range. I think they're trying to have one bottle right now that's going to fill all needs, and that's really hard. And even when you look at a lot of the professional grade bottles like Marilex, for example, they have their yellow bottles and they have their white bottles, and one is alkaline and one is acid, and there's a reason for that, because I think it's difficult to build a bottle that can run anything. So that's all I have for today. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you, and hopefully you're having a great day.